Sports Network production. Now to your host.
And welcome to another episode of Talkin the Gridiron here on the Variety Sports Network. I am your host, Darren Breyer from the Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports Podcast. And today joining me, I have Jimmy from the Far End of the Bench Podcast. He's back, ladies and gentlemen, full here from his vacation. Tyler, who's decided to then, I guess, take his spot on vacation, is out in Hawaii. So we're wishing him well. He said he might be able to jump on. We'll see if he can. But in case he cannot, again, folks, we're here to bring you a good show of football, Talking the Gridiron here on Variety Sports Network. Jimmy, how you doing?
Finally feel like a normal person again. I'm recovering. I'm not wandering through the airport. I don't know. I put it out on our social media, like that airport has like so many different conspiracies behind it, and then it's not like the easiest thing to get around to. So I was glad that I was able to come on for a little bit of the show last week. Obviously, it's been a good couple weeks of football for me. I will say it's a good thing that you got me from the Far End of the Bench podcast instead of Nico, because if we had to talk to Nico right now, might be some tears, might be some heartfelt speeches, something else is going on. And I'm all here for it because I get to be this close to watching the dumpster fire, but I don't necessarily have to stick my hand in there. So it's fun for me.
Let's see if I can piss off a Broncos fan a little bit more tonight. That might be part of the goal here at the end of the night, and maybe he'll take some of it out of me. I wouldn't mind that at all. So here we go. Jimmy tonight with me on Variety Sports Network. Hey, Jimmy, before we jump into it real quick, can you give me a score update here? I got 16-10. Are you watching the game by chance as well on the Sunday night?
Yes, I'm seeing 16-10 with 6:47 left. The Steelers have the ball with the ability to score and go up, I guess.
So as we do this podcast, we might jump over to that and give you a little breaking news score as we go here. But Jimmy, until that spot happens, here's what I got for you to start. What's kind of your initial thoughts of week that jumped out about week 7?
Honestly, it was a little bit. It was up and down. It was good and bad. Some of the stuff makes sense. The Cowboys beating up on the Lions, that makes sense. The Ravens beating the Browns, the Raiders taking it to the Texans, which, I mean, I've said, I think I've said, or at least I've tried to say a couple times, that even though the Raiders don't have the best record, they aren't the worst team. They definitely are talented enough to win. But then you got the Seahawks absolutely pummeling what we thought were going to be a good team in the Chargers. The Jets sneak out an ugly win in Denver. So, like, it was good, it was bad, and some of the stuff was expected, some of it wasn't. I'm just going to continue to ride this wave because apparently the Bengals remembered that they were really good the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say that stands out the most. That offense has been scalding hot. It's kind of insane. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop where they're not scoring at all, but I'm here for all the scoring right now. I'd say that was my main takeaway, up and down, and I had no idea what half of these games were going to be.
Yeah, it was an interesting slate of games going into it a little bit. There's some, obviously some of the top teams had a bye, and so that kind of always changes the schedule a little bit. So it was kind of interesting going. Here's my main thing. I'm going to see what you think here. Which 3 and 4 team is more in trouble? Green Bay or Tampa Bay? Let's be honest. Those are the ones that I feel like those are the teams that really they really bit it this week, I feel like. And they just didn't look good. And I kind of posed the question: are the GOATs done in a sense? Are they kind of looking like they're kind of hitting the end of the thing? So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know which team is in more trouble. I mean, I would say probably Green Bay, because they have Minnesota in their division, and Minnesota might be a little bit tougher to overcome than somewhat of a fraudulent Atlanta team and New Orleans inside of your own division. It is crazy to see how much they've fallen off. I mean, that's what everybody's been saying would happen for both of those guys for the last 2 years, and now all of a sudden it's actually happening. It's starting to come into fruition. But yes, the Packers, it should still be working. They still have the same head coach. I know that Nathaniel Hackett is off and doing his own thing in Denver. Looks like that might not be the worst thing in the world to get rid of him from your organization.
No.
And it just – you can blame it on the kids. I know that that's what Aaron Rodgers has been blaming it on for the last few weeks, but I really don't even know. They should have had that game in hand today. You were playing Taylor Heineke. No offense to our fellow Variety Sports Network guys who love St. Louis sports, but the Battlehawks were barely a professional football team.
That's
so
true.
Taylor Heineke really isn't a professional quarterback. Yet he came in there and he made a comeback against what is probably the most talented quarterback of the last 20 years.
they almost should just let him play over Wentz in some regards. But he throws that little floater McGee out to at the very end there. He just throws that little floater, and I was watching the game. I was like, no way! I was like, you got to pick that. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, catch that. And the Commanders pull out the win here. I just thought that was kind of my first takeaway from that weekend was those two teams, just because of it. So let's kind of go. We kind of talked about Green Bay a little bit there. Washington, I feel like me and you, when it comes to them, I feel like we're on the same wavelength with them. They need to show us a lot more before me and you spend 8 minutes talking about them in a segment here. I was impressed by that last possession of that catch. Let's go to the Bucs side of this real quick here. I mean, the Brady, a shocking loss, right? I mean, 21-3. Yeah. It's not just that they lost; it's how they lost.
Double-digit favorites.
It's up 13.5, and then especially after the chewing out Tom gave the offensive line last week. I don't know if you saw the Kelsey brother thing with that. Yeah. That was hilarious. Well done. Yeah. Like, hey man, we're wrestling every play. You said it.
So I don't really need to take your advice because you can't get hit by the rules.
I just can't say anything because you have more championships. I mean, that's the only reason I can't throw you in a dumpster.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I love the take of everybody like, well, their offensive lineman actually came out and said, no, I love it when Tom gets in my face. And I'm thinking it's Tristan Wirfs, who's about 22, which means that when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl, he was in diapers. And I don't think that guy's going to, as big as he is, as athletic and as strong as he is, he's not going to look at Tom Brady and go, you know what, you can't tell me what to do. No, because guess what? He can. He's earned that right in this league. He's losing it quickly. Yeah. But it is there. He still does have, I mean, seven-time Super Bowl champion. That's never going to be touched as a quarterback again for a long, long time.
As you can see below, I said at this point of his season where he's under 500, 8 games in is pretty incredible in general. But like I said, they look lifeless. Is this kind of the end of that team going forward? Even Bowles goes, the coach of the Bucs, he goes on to say, we're going to see how many people can handle adversity. He's had strong comments last week as well. He said it's about as dark as it's going to be right now. So, I mean, he feels it right now. This is crunch time here for 8 games in. I think he knows his quarterback's not the same anymore. So it will be very interesting what happens to them going forward.
It's never a great strategy to say it can't get any worse because I will tell you that never goes well. I lived for 15 years saying, well, it can't get any worse than this, right? And then it got worse.
Oh, my gosh. Me and you.
Back-to-back top 5 overall picks is definitely worse. It did get worse.
It did get worse.
It doesn't seem like a strategy that an NFL head coach should be having.
No, not at all. And I think it's interesting the situation he got put into going back to the beginning of the season. Little shout out to the Panthers here. I for sure thought they were tanking a little bit. Just want to give them a little shout out to coach. They get the W today. It looked like they were going to be in full tank mode again. Maybe they still are, but at least they show some heart, get a little win, show up as an NFL franchise when it did not look like they were an NFL franchise at all. Their defense got the message. A lot of their GM apparently turned down some picks for them that probably fired up their players as well, made them maybe bond a little bit more. And so they had a good showing this week. Let's go to your Bengals, though. That's the game. This is kind of what I was thinking this week. Who's winning that AFC North? To me, that after this week, Jimmy, after looking at the negative side of it, with the goats, like we said, the two quarterbacks kind of looking like they're headed downhill. To me, the biggest takeaway is the AFC North now. They kind of the Ravens get that win. They kind of pull it out. The Bengals start to look a little bit better, actually a lot better today against the Falcons. They're both 4-3 now. I mean, your thoughts here?
I'm encouraged. A couple weeks ago, everybody saw that. I still don't think they should have lost that game to the Ravens. And I'm going to stand behind the fact that Zach Taylor's who cost them that game. It wasn't anybody that was on the field because the way that whole thing played out, there shouldn't have been a situation where Baltimore could have come back and kicked the last-second field goal to win. I feel a lot better about saying that this is probably the Bengals division to lose from here on out with what they've been able to show and with the explosivity that they still do have. Yes, the Ravens are keeping pace with them. The Ravens had to pull out some weird-ass shit today just to beat the Browns, and that's before Deshaun Watson's back. They proved my point. They put Lamar at running back, and they were successful. He is not a quarterback. He is not going to throw you a game-winning touchdown pass at the end of a game. When the regulation ends, that's not going to be what he's there for. He's there to run the ball. He can get you good yardage. Like, if you want to get a field goal, I would put Lamar Jackson as my quarterback, probably behind maybe 2 other people currently playing in the NFL, because he can get you so far. But if you have to throw at all during that, Lamar Jackson's not your guy. He's proven that. He's proven that for about 3 years now. In the biggest moments, his arm completely goes. It's almost like he has a mind of its own. And when it's crunch time, 2 minutes, I have to throw this on target. He's throwing it 10 yards over the receiver's head, right to the safety who's covering the top of the field. And that's that.
The Ravens, if you look at that box score, man, what an ugly box score that is for a W. I mean, it was like, I don't even think they had a running back go for 50 yards. And he didn't throw very well at all. He didn't throw for anything over 200. He was not good. But like you said, at the end of the day, they do pull out the W. The Browns now are going to be a lot tougher. All right, they get their quarterback. Well, he's coming back here soon, so it's not right now, but he's
got three more weeks.
3 more weeks. So the Browns again, they're starting to really fade. Not surprising at all at this point with their quarterback here. Let's go to your Bengals though a little bit. Burrow, he gets on. I mean, they just right away attack the Falcons right away. And I think you maybe in a tweet said this is the one I believe where you said if you're losing your cornerbacks against us, that's not a good matchup. And our guys that on the other Variety Sports Network out of, gosh, I just can't think of the Falcons. I was listening to some of their podcasts. Yeah, I was listening to some of theirs, and they were talking about their cornerback depth a little bit on their last podcast. Yeah, and then when you tweeted that made sense. And, I mean, Burrow just lit it up. I mean, look at the stats below. They're almost 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then he had both receivers cooking as well. I think Mixon even got in the mix with a touchdown, no pun intended there. So, Jimmy, your Bengals, I mean, the Niners couldn't do anything against them defensively. You guys just destroyed them.
It's kind of insane to think about. I mean, statistically, it's the best wide receiver core in the entire NFL. All 3 receivers, the Bengals were the only team going into today that all 3 of their top 3 receivers had 300-plus yards receiving on the season. So that's not an issue. He opened up scoring today with a 60-yard bomb to Tyler Boyd. So people like to say, oh, you got to cover Jamar, you got to cover T. Well, guess what? 83 is not that bad. He's going to be able to burn you too. It just goes back to what we said earlier on with this show. Play your guys during preseason. No matter what, just play your guys during preseason because now you start to think about it. This is week 7, so you kind of got that initial crappy portion of the season out of the way anyways, plus your preseason that you didn't play. And now this is what they could have looked like week 1. I'd stand behind if the Bengals played their guys during preseason, they dominate the Steelers on opening night. They should have won that game still anyways. They had way too many mistakes. It was Burrow's first time playing again, and he recently had his appendix removed at that time of the season. This is the offense that I am absolutely quaking to try and face right now because how do you stop them? Yes, you can. If you somehow are able to shut down that passing game, Joe Mixon's still Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow is still Joe Burrow. And at some point, Jamar Chase is going to be open. And if he's open at all, he can take a 2-yard pass and go 80 yards. He did that multiple times last year, and he's still doing it. So I put that tweet out. I mean, I shout out to AJ Terrell because he is that good. He was shutting down whoever he was covering initially for that portion of the game, but it got bad and it just got worse. I mean, the Falcons are a good offense. They're a good running offense. Mariota can't pass. And when you get down 21 points to the Bengals that quickly and in that fashion, it was never going to – as much as they wanted to fight for that comeback, it was never happening.
I was impressed with Boyd, too. Because he had 8 receptions. Well, he had some nice plays along the way, too. I just thought the Falcons' coverage was a little different. They didn't play any – I didn't think they – well, if they tried to play deep high safety, they did a poor job of it. And I was surprised.
Safeties weren't deep.
Yeah, they were not deep enough as well. I mean, Chase, that last one was just not very good defense there at all. The Bengals are always going to come down to me, Jimmy, though, is when those situations where when they're down 3 and the defensive ends can get those free rushes on your quarterback because they know they have to pass. I want to see that again. In this, come again, right? Playoff time. Can they continue to get those 3rd and 4s? We know they're massive chunk plays. That's what's going to make them dangerous. They're a chunk play team. Can they at times get that 3rd and 4? And like to get just a little quick Sunday night update here. 16-10, right, with about 2:30 left in the game. I want to say is that we're getting close to that mark here. I believe the Dolphins do have the ball, if I'm not mistaken. Tua is back, Jimmy. This was a big thing going into a couple weeks ago. The doctor, obviously, we talked about that whole situation. He's back, though. He looks pretty good out there to start. They got it to a 13-0 lead, like the Steelers do. They always stay in it, even with the rookie quarterback here. They still have to get the ball back here a little bit. But what do you kind of just think of that whole situation of him coming back and the Dolphins, I guess, maybe pulling out a win tonight?
I really don't, I didn't like that he was starting again. I don't think that it was near enough time. didn't look terrible while he did it, but also he wasn't facing a team with any sort of pass rush. But I will say, anytime that I see Tua right now playing on the field, I'm nervous that he's going to get hit and rattled and he's going to be throwing up gang signs again because this team is just trying to get him killed. It's almost like they want this to happen again. They want another traumatic brain injury so that they have to fire another doctor. And I don't have any clue why. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Did you think that he should have been out there today? I don't.
To me, it was a little bit of a weird deal that he was out there at all, like to begin with. Like just the whole thing was just a little iffy. But at the same time, this is football, Jimmy, and like
trust me, I know.
You know what I mean?
Football.
Like,
and I played offensive line in the era where they were like, "Oh, concussions, just take a break, like sit out for a couple plays. Are you good?"
Exactly. Hey, maybe just because of that tweet here, real quick, if he is watching here, maybe.
How about them Cowgirls?
How we give him a little? I think he is was he Jerry Jones' son at this point, Logan. So let's get a little Cowboys love in here. They are on fire again. They continue to win 5-2, advancing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Prescott comes back. The thing I was impressed was the coaching. They didn't do anything stupid again. Obvious, the Lions always help you with that, people. The Lions will always help you with that again. The Lions are going to lion, and they look back to it again. 6 points again, a pathetic effort by Jared Goff, who fooled us at the beginning of the year. I don't know, 5-2 is Logan's Cowboys. Are they back, baby? Are they back?
I don't know if they're back. I mean, they're still going to have to beat. They're still going to have to beat Philly at some point. That's not going away anytime soon. So, and honestly, they'd still have to beat New York because New York is just finding ways to win right now. So it should be the fact like Dak coming back should have been the resurrection that we were all hoping for. And yes, I know that we were in jest saying that Cooper Rush was the new GOAT and that he was going to be the next Tom Brady. He's not. Dak Prescott is the quarterback for that team and he makes them better. I still don't trust them. Like I don't trust Mike McCarthy. I trust Dan Quinn. I trust that defense to be in the right spot. And when you play, do we think Dan Campbell's shtick is a little bit past its time? Because
I think even Lions fans are tired of it.
I wonder if they are. I really do. Because at least they are. Up until the last 2 weeks, you could say, well, they're competitive. They're fighting. They're like 2 or 3 plays away. And now the last 2 weeks, they've been getting dominated by Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia in his revenge game, I guess maybe I can throw that one out. Getting dominated today by Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, that offense should have been able to put up some more points. They should have been able to make that a lot closer of a game. And now I went from being very excited to see this new Lions team play on Thanksgiving to now hoping that their Thanksgiving game gets canceled. I have no clue. Oh, Kurt Warner, right?
That's his guy, but he wasn't out there today. We had Prescott out there, and I'm with you. The thing with the Cowboys, though, if you're playing them right, is their defense. I mean, if you're the offensive coordinator, you're thinking, crap, Parsons can blow us up in 1 point. Like that's where those
he
guys
can sack the quarterback and then drop back into a Tampa 2 coverage on the next play and get a pick.
It's why I believe the Bills with Von Miller are starting to look like that fate. And that defensive end that just comes up with one big play. I do want to say this about Logan and his Cowboys is to give him a little. That is where I believe it'll be interesting when they do play the Eagles. What happens? Because that is the thing. Hurts kills people getting out of the pocket, and it'll be curious what their defensive line can do in that situation. They have good cornerbacks too, so I'm curious in that matchup what will happen. This may actually be an NFC East game I might be looking forward to at some point.
It kind of did. I mean, last week it was kind of going that way, and it was initially it was kind of a blowout to start because Cooper Rush. It was the 6th week of Cooper Rush, and everybody had a whole bunch of film on him. And that defense held them as long as they could. It came down to like the coaching. And that's crazy for me to say that Nick Sirianni is a better coach, but he is. He's a better coach than Mike McCarthy. Like I was on the I hate Nick Sirianni train more than anybody last season because I thought it was ridiculous that we're playing Zoom, rock, paper, scissors to try and decide how competitive my guys are going to be. But they still handled their business. They still took out Dallas on Sunday night. It was at home, so maybe playing in Dallas is a little bit different, but the Eagles' defensive line is pretty badass too, and the Cowboys don't have anybody to block. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Who was that? Oh, Jordan Evans.
Yeah,
Jordan. You got Fletcher Cox and Jordan Evans on the same defensive line. That's like 1,000 pounds of humanity.
Yeah, that's not bad right there. That's not bad right there. The Eagles look dangerous the more and more times going on here. They had a bye, so they look even more dangerous today as well. So, Logan, congratulations. How about them Cowboys? They roll out again here. Expect to see you on next week when they jump to 6-2 here. The Lions, back to normal. We got to get my guy C. Henry on here. Maybe you see me tweet with him once in a while. He's a Lions fan out of Detroit. He wanted to come on here a few times, but he's got the little bit of a 3-hour difference. Maybe one of these times we'll have to start earlier and let him jump on. I wouldn't mind getting his takes on the Lions in the NFC North, and he knows a lot about football in general there. All right, let's keep it going here. A few more games here in the afternoon here. Let's stay in the NFC East, and you mentioned that other team, which is the Giants, the surprising Giants. Nobody thought that they would be here. What if that was probably the finish of the day, I guess I would think, right? In the morning game, maybe there was, kind of came down to the wire a little bit, I guess we'll say, got close to the goal line there with that goal line. What do you think? The Giants, they pull it out again, man. They just, I don't know, they get the turnover right now when they need it, and they're doing just enough. They run the ball very impressively today. They total, what I got here, 236 yards on the ground. On 39 carries. Obviously, Jones gets 11 of them, but who cares? It doesn't matter where it comes from. I don't know, man. Giants, I guess every week that goes by, I'm just like, I don't know, but maybe they are. I don't know.
It feels unsustainable. It feels like it's going to blow up at some point, just like it did when the Dolphins – this is the same Wildcat offense that the Dolphins were using with Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown, except they're using an actual quarterback in the Ronnie Brown role. Like Daniel Jones, he might be the best running quarterback in the league, and that's only funny that I say that because it sounds like I'm slandering Lamar Jackson even more. But hey, that's what he's been able to win these games by, and that his team is 5-1. I was kind of more impressed too with the Jacksonville side of things. I know that their record is back to what they were. They're not going to be that great. They're probably going to be picking in the top 10 of the draft again. However, there's something different. Like, it's totally different watching this team under and now I can't think of the Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Than it was under Urban Meyer. This is an actual professional team, and just flipping back and forth to that game while the Bengals game was on, I was very impressed with Trevor Lawrence and the situations. I was impressed with the trust that he's gained from this coaching staff, where it was 3rd down and short. They went for a quarterback sneak and it didn't work. So then on 4th down and short, they ran a rollout pass and basically put the ball in Trevor Lawrence's hands. And last year that wouldn't have happened because his coach would have just seen him as some sort of a rookie quarterback. So it seems like that is progressing. It's just not going as fast as people were hoping that it would. So I don't know. Maybe Daniel Jones is progressing and we're just missing it. However, I think the coaching is the main difference. Both those teams are so much better than we expected, just because the coaching is so much better than we expected.
Yeah, I guess that kind of leads to one of my questions with the Giants. And like we said, when they ran the ball is, do we trust Daniel Jones in a big game? I think realistically, we probably both would say no, just based on his track record and what we see. But, there is something there where maybe we're starting to see a little bit more from him. And, if his team starts to get more confidence around him, that's a big deal for a quarterback.
How many big games has he played in? He was a guy that played in like 11 college games total, and it was at Duke. So they were half college games, wasn't even big-time college games. And now he's been in the NFL. The Giants have been terrible his entire career. This is the first time that they're actually successful, and he's continuing to win. They're on a 4-game winning streak, I think. They won the first week, lost week 2, and then they've won for the rest of it. So,
it's been impressive.
I just don't think that we've had we don't have a sample to go off of. This is the first time that we're seeing it.
I kind of just want to ask the question here just to kind of, just to be a little bit of a, I guess we'll say a little bit of a riler up here on the podcast here a little bit. And I just kind of want to say they're 6-1, but I kind of also want to be like, to a Giants fan, yeah, but you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. I hate to break it to you. I don't know, like, if you have to throw the ball, is he going to get the job done? And I'm just saying I don't think he can. That doesn't mean that he can't prove me wrong. Right now, I don't believe he can get it done.
Yeah, they have a favorable schedule. They go Seahawks, Texans, Lions before they play the Cowboys again. There's a good chance that they're like, because they're 6-1 right now, they're either 8-1 or 7-2 going into their next matchup against Dallas. And their first game against Dallas was close too. 23-16. This team is – I get what you're saying about Daniel Jones is still the quarterback. This team shouldn't be where they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are the most dangerous teams to watch out for because they don't understand that they should suck, or they don't understand that this shouldn't be how things are going right now. But here we are.
It'll be interesting what happens when they lose a game next and how that next game goes. Because, I mean, they're not going to obviously go win out here, I don't think. But that's usually the telltale of your season. Like the Cardinals last year, right? They lost one. Nope, lost again. Lost again. So there you go with it. So it'll be interesting where that goes here going forward. All right, so that's the NFC East side of things a little bit. Right now, the Eagles still sit on top of the division. The Cowboys are putting pressure on them. And the Giants obviously right there ahead of the Cowboys. So that right now that division looks like the deepest of the Commanders. Again, they pull out a W as well. So the records don't look that bad there overall. All right, a couple more games here to hit before we take a little break here, and we'll hit the afternoon games here. One of the game, not the most exciting game in the game, or in the league today, but the Titans, they pull out the sweep of the Colts. They end up going to 4-2 in the year. Second straight season they do it. The thing with the Titans, I always say, is they, to me, are just – I don't really care until they get to the playoffs anymore. Like, I think that's kind of what I think I am with them. Like, I don't even care if they're a 6 seed and they get in. And then I feel like they're the same. 1 or 6, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what they're going to get from them, and this is what you're going to get from them. And can you stop that? And that's the key. You know what I mean? That's how the Titans are going to win games. Can he run well enough and Tannehill not F it up to be blunt? Basically what it is. So
he did F it up. I mean, he threw he threw a pick on the first play from scrimmage against the Bengals last season. I know he F's it up. Trust me. I'm very glad that he does. I'm not mad about it. No, I agree with you. They could be, if they're 9-7, I would feel the same exact way about them going into the playoffs as I did last year when they were 12-4 and the number 1 seed. Yeah. They were the Bengals 2 years before the Bengals last year. That when they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, they were that close and it just didn't work out. I just don't. There's something different too. Not having Luan again is going to be bad for him. He brings a lot. Whether you think that he's a good player or if he's just popular because of the podcast that he has, I still say he's one of the better left tackles in football. Probably. No, I can't think of it. The Silverback who plays for Tyler's 49ers. Yeah, he's the best one, and I think it goes him, then probably Luan at this point when Luan's fully healthy. So not having him is going to hurt. That defense, too, scares me. That defense was their downfall a couple years ago, and they added Jeffrey Simmons, and they sacked Joe Burrow 10 times or whatever it was. They still lost that game. They still have no explosivity in their offense. And, yeah, I don't think Derrick Henry wins you playoff games. As much as I do think that controlling the line of scrimmage and running the football in the playoffs wins, it doesn't necessarily translate with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got some connections here with some of the guys that are Titans fan here, so we hear a lot about that on our timeline there, and that always seems to be part of the deal with them in the with the Titans, and they're always the same way. They don't really trust the guy, you know. And then what they did Willis on that kind of weird play on that fake there, it just didn't work. The Titans are always one of those teams. They said 1 or 6, it doesn't really matter to me where they finish. They're always going to be. It's all going to come down to Henry at the end of the day. And can you stop? I do have a lot of respect for him though, man. He's fun to watch. I can't say. We always said Chubb is a top running back. When you see him run though, like full go, it's like, gosh, damn, I would never want to get in front of that train ever. That guy would annihilate you, man. He's a big boy.
Here's a crazy, and since you're a little bit, not gonna say a lot older, but you are a little bit older than me in your NFL fandom. Does this team look any different than Jeff Fisher and Eddie George back then?
Oh man, that would probably piss off a lot of Titans fans too.
I get that too, but does it seem? I get that it was Jeff Fisher and Eddie George, but look, Mike Vrabel and Derrick Henry. The only difference is Mike Vrabel and Derrick Henry didn't get to the Super Bowl and lose. They got to the AFC Championship. I would say that it's the same exact team. I think not really a big name receiver, Kevin Dyson.
Well, that's the thing. They traded A.J. Brown too.
Yeah,
who I think Titans fans were trying
Jalen Hurts is just sitting over there in the corner like, this is. I'm so happy.
Big deal. When you have Henry and you have Brown, that's a big difference right there. That's you have a running back and a receiver.
And they still didn't use AJ Brown the way they should have. That's why he got traded. That's why he asked them to trade him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anyways, Titans do go to 4-2 on the year. They look to that division looks to be theirs maybe again this year. Heading forward with it, the Texans obviously not very good. Colts, I'm just not a big fan of them this year. I just cannot. I mean,
I was expecting so much more out of Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan, he's a part of that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady generation where I think Father Time decided, yeah, this was cute. It's not cute anymore.
Yeah, it's time to end a little bit here with them. Yeah, that's the one thing here with the Colts too is they always are one of those teams that like they're a weird fanfare team. A lot of people like you know what I mean? You wouldn't think like Indiana, but a lot of they're just like one of those original franchises. So a lot of people they love it for that reason.
They like to claim all of Baltimore. Well, I guess we think that they're a very popular fan base. If you go to Baltimore, I don't think that they're that popular of a fan base.
Probably not. Baltimore probably hates them with a passion.
But Jim Irsay probably is just enjoying life right now because he's no longer the shittiest owner with all the Dan Snyder and Stephen Ross stuff. He's kind of got himself out of the doghouse. Him and Mark Davis have to be sitting up in their clubhouse just high-fiving every single day.
Loving life right now. I was actually going to post a tweet up on it or on here. I kind of forgot to do it, but I guess it was of the Titans players were extra motivated because of Irsay's comments this offseason wanted to take over. So, all right, hey, let's take a quick 1-minute break. We'll be right back with kind of the afternoon games, our fantasy player of the week, and all those good things here. So this is Jimmy from the far end. Yeah, go ahead.
I beat you in fantasy this week, by the way. We beat you.
Thank you for the reminder there.
Jaceki couldn't pull it out for you.
I was going to try to save that for the second half of you said of it. He couldn't wait, people. He had to rub it in. He had to dig it in a little bit. That's right. I got to add a little extra to Nico and the Broncos in tonight just for that. A little bit there. Right there. All right, let's take a quick little break here. We'll be right back. Finish up the afternoon talk here. I'm talking the Gridiron. And we are back here on Talking the Gridiron Sunday night edition here. Jimmy, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit as we kind of got done talking about the Titans there here with it. I believe we are final in the game here, right, with the Dolphins and the Steelers. I believe we have gone final in that game. The Dolphins, I believe, are victorious 20-17 in that game. Steelers, they lose again to the rookie quarterback. Please stop putting these games on Sunday Night Football. I mean, that's my main thing from this stuff. Just not a good week of primetime games. I know the Thursday night one was a high-scoring game a little bit as well as your guy Dalton threw a lot of picks there to end that game, and just that viral bit was quick. I know I didn't really want to go deep into the game, but let's just real quick touch on it. The Saints fall, Cardinals come back. Nothing really big for me, but the Saints just have a quarterback issue, man. Like we said, they're as 500 as it gets.
They do have a quarterback issue, but it's also kind of strange too because the team is playing, even though they're losing more than when Jameis was there, the team is playing a lot better. Like the offense actually looks like a professional offense. And I like Herb Street a lot. He's one of my favorite commentators in general. And it does piss me off a little bit now that he gets Thursday Night Football plus the Saturday night college primetime games, because as a guy who is trying to get into the broadcasting field, like how much money do you really need? How many games do you need to call Kirk? I get it. You're the best, but leave some for the rest of us. But he did a good job of explaining, like, Andy Dalton might not be the worst thing for them. If they get better around him and maybe draft one of the quarterbacks next year, Jameis is a failed experiment. Let's quit trying to be the smart guy in the room that can turn this guy into an NFL franchise quarterback. You're not. He had all of the time in the world. He had Mike Evans. He had Chris Godwin. He had, I want to say, there was a tight end there as well that was decent. Like he had all of these pieces in Tampa Bay. It was not good.
I don't think Saints fans would agree with you at all, man. Like I
know that they wouldn't.
No, I don't think they would.
I know that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's not my fault that the New Orleans school system is that way. But if you would listen, if you would open your eyes, take the beads off your neck for a second, you'd realize that Jameis Winston is not your savior. Taysom Hill is not your savior. Andy Dalton, probably not your savior, but he's the best out of your options.
No. And I thought it was funny what Allen said about the quarterback thing when he came in. I thought he could have had a better quote. He goes, what did you think he did? Well, did you think he needed to do anything different from the first half? No. They got to say something better than that. He threw 2 picks for him. It was pick 6, man. They got to do something more than that. So
gave up the first touchdown on Thursday Night Football in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit more than that on it. All right, let's keep it going here. Afternoon games, or actually, before we get into the afternoon games, I wanted to bring up our fantasy players of the day, presented by Row One Brand. You can follow them at Cool Stub on Twitter. I think they got. If you use the code VSN15, you will get 15% off any purchase there at Row One Brand. So be sure to check them out, Jimmy. A lot of options here for fantasy football guy of the day. What do you got? Sponsored by Row One Brand. Who's your fantasy football player of the day?
I'm going to cheat slightly. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase, just the Bengals receivers in general. Tyler Boyd dropped 30 for me in our matchup in the flex position today. And looking at Jamar Chase, he's actually playing the guy who played my dad in the far end of the bench league. Scored 33, 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, dropped 33 points. So you had either of those guys in your lineup, or you played either of those guys in your lineup, it had a drastic effect on how that matchup went. I just have a feeling.
So those are Jimmy's fantasy players of the day, presented by Row One Brand. I might bring up mine here in a second, but let's see where Jimmy goes with our first question here to start the afternoon games here. What afternoon game surprised you the most? We have the Jets over the Broncos, Raiders, Texans, Chiefs, Niners, Seahawks, Chargers. Where do you want to take this one? What game kind of stood out to you?
I mean, I was live at the Jets and Broncos game. Do you want to start there, and then we can go to we can kind of go from there?
Let's start with my favorite quote we have here so far on the banners, right? Like, you got to get your brother to tune in. I will, if I'm the host of this thing, I will ride this quote every day. So he's saying that I will put this on for him all the time. What's your brother's name again? What is it?
Dom.
All right. Dom, I am a fan of this quote. Your Jets. The Jets pull it out against Nico's dominant Broncos. 9 points. What an effort today by Mr. Rippin and the Broncos. I'm sure Mile High was on fire, booing consistently. Sorry, I had to add that little salt in there. Go ahead, Jets.
They weren't even booing. It's so. Here's the funny thing though. There's only about 5,000 no-shows. So 70,000 people showed up today to watch Mark Rippon play Zach Wilson, and it was a majority Broncos fans. So I'll give Nico those 2 credits. I don't know what I sent a text to a couple people on my phone with the way they were punting the ball back and forth. I was like, oh, this is the most attended tennis match that I've ever watched. It's just like plunk, plunk, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And then Breece Hall looked like he was going to open up the game a little bit, but it's like the Broncos have cancer or something, or they have some sort of disease that when you go and you play against them, your team cannot score. Your defense is going to probably play pretty well because the Broncos offense sucks and can't get anything done no matter who's playing quarterback for them or who's calling plays. But I don't know. I wouldn't even – this was very similar. Nico and I went to the Bengals-Jets game Bengals and Broncos game at Denver last year. It's very similar. Like, the Jets should have won by more. The Broncos could have made it even closer than it really was. But like 1 or 2 catastrophic mistakes, and that's where we're sitting. Like, you let Breece Hall run a 40-yard sweep untouched. Like, that play hasn't worked since 1994. And you give up a 44-yard touchdown on it? That's awful. It's god-awful.
I'm sure Nico likes seeing Melvin Gordon's 11 carries, 33 yards on the ground. I'm sure that really excited.
3.3 yards to carry, man. Never going to get more, never going to get less.
What's the saying? 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
There you go.
3 by 4 equals a first down every single time.
And then my main man, Stacy's mom, Zach Wilson, he just has a pathetic effort. 16 of 26 for 121 yards, and they get.
I seriously think he only sees Braxton Berrios. He does not think that there's another single receiver over there in a white jersey. He was so zoned in on Berrios like 3 to 4 times that he threw the ball to him.
Dude, he doesn't look like a legit quarterback right now. Like he looks like not good at all. And
he needs more time in the oven for sure.
No, he needs to. Yeah, exactly. He's very not good at all. Let's stay with the Jets game here. You mentioned it a little bit. My bummer of the day, in Rev last week had a great question about him being maybe the breakout player of the first half. This Breece Hall, like you said, he runs for the 40-yard touchdown, and then I kind of got stuck watching the Chiefs Niners game, and I looked back and I saw he only had 4 carries, and I was like, that's not good. And sure enough, looks like he might have the ACL tear. Kind of puts an end to it. Again, is it like I wrote there, amazing start to his rookie season. To me, that's the big bummer. I know injuries always happen, but definitely a bummer of the day, given the Jets don't really have that much offensive firepower.
He was the bright spot, and kudos to that Jets team. They've gotten a couple good running backs because Michael Carter came in and wasn't the same explosiveness, but they had a couple more explosive plays with their running backs. It's kind of incredible. You would think that Breece Hall, that was terrible, and I didn't even really see the injury. I guess he got carted off the field. I wasn't even aware. I must have been up going to the bathroom or fighting through the sea of pissed off Broncos fans. I've gone to so many Broncos games in my Bengals jersey, and I know that I'm the only one that's there, and I'm getting a whole bunch of dirty looks. I've never been looked at the way that I was looked at today when I was wearing a Jets jersey at Mile High. That was I thought there was a couple people that were feeling a little bit froggy. I was like, I'm just here with him because I went with my brother. I was like, I'm just here. I'm moral support. You can't leave me now.
Are Broncos fans hardcore like that? Are there fights at the stadium like that? Like, obviously, I grew up going to Oakland Raiders games.
Yeah, so
it's not the parking lot wasn't a big deal, but there was.
It's not a battle royale like those games. No, it's not crazy like that. The one brawl that I've seen in the stands there's the Suns in 4 guy. So Nico's going to be even more upset that I brought that up again on this show. But the Suns in 4 guy was one. And when we went to the MLB All-Star game, not even at the All-Star game, the home run derby, we were walking out and some guys started brawling. And I was like, that's what we're doing now.
It will happen all the time.
So I probably would have had to it wouldn't go straight from him say something to a fight, but it would probably be him say something, I have a smart ass comment back, and then he's like, I can't come up with anything better than that. So first thing, and two, I do still look a little bit like a college offensive lineman, so I doubt anybody's really itching. They might fight somebody else before they fight me. But all the Jets fans were talking shit to everybody else and looking at me like, oh yeah, you're gonna back me up, right? I was like, no,
I got nothing on you, man.
I'm not here for you.
I'm just here with my brother, not a team here.
I've got his back. If he has your back, then I guess I have your back too. But I've got his back, and that's about it.
That's the first one. So I thought that was a big bummer of the day, though. Breece Hall going out with that big injury there. All right, let's go to the game right here. I kind of was a big deal out here. The Niners and the Chiefs. Obviously we did our podcast immediately after the game or after the trade involving McCaffrey. Before we hit on the game, I kind of want to ask you, what do you think about the trade? Tyler and Brian, who I did the podcast with, I'm not sure if you got to check it out real quick, but they were super excited about it. I think it does help them going forward, but the problem is at this point in the season now, you're 3-4 already. It's not like you're 5-2, and you still have Jimmy G as your quarterback. It's almost like people forgot that a little bit. And the defense today just got exposed. I know it's the Chiefs, but when I mean exposed, I mean against a great team like that, they just couldn't keep up with them, especially when they're asked to do that offensively. So I don't know. What do you think about the trade overall? I think it's going to help them. I'm just curious. What do you think? Are they the favorite in the NFC West? The NFC West is still down.
I don't know if I'm ready to say that they're the favorite to win that division because it is just still so up in the air. Yeah. I do have more confidence in them in the playoffs. Adding Christian McCaffrey is not going to hurt when they get into the big-time games in December. I think if they have Christian McCaffrey – or December and January, if they have Christian McCaffrey in that NFC Championship game, I don't necessarily know for a fact that they beat the Rams, but I think they probably have a better opportunity to. They were winning that game. Then you can turn around and hand it off to Christian McCaffrey instead of knows who else you have at running back there. I mean, I know that Kyle Shanahan's smart enough to draw up schemes for anybody. This is like a match made in heaven. Everybody was saying it.
Yeah.
That is the running back to try and put in Kyle Shanahan's offense because he will find you open holes. But if he has holes that he can run through, like he did at Stanford, he's going to make an impact. I think it's going to take some time now. So they're 3-4 on the season. Maybe they have 3 more losses. But I do think that this is going to help them moving forward to the postseason. I just don't know. I'm not ready to say that they're NFC West. They're going to win the NFC West. I don't think that they can't. But I don't think that that's going to be a steadfast fact by the time we're getting, January, February.
I was going to bring up a little bit of Niners fans seem a little frustrated though with Shanahan. They don't seem as excited.
Don't let Nico hear you.
Huh?
Don't let Nico hear you.
That's a big.
He's been calling for Shanahan to Denver for like 3 years.
And I think that might be realistic this year. Let's say the Niners don't make the postseason. I'm just saying, let's say that doesn't happen. I think there's a world where he doesn't come back. Now that sounds crazy, but there's also a lot of expectations, and his record isn't like out of this world. You know what I mean? I understand you guys have a connection to him in Denver and his dad there, but like if you look at it from this record wise. I don't know. Sometimes there's a lot to be desired, despite how good of an offensive coordinator is. And when I watch him, I'm like, that's good stuff. So I don't know. It's just obviously the quarterback drives a lot of this, but you also look at a team like the Giants and they're 6-1 with not nearly the offensive weapon. So I'd be curious. I think Denver would be this landing spot for him. Definitely given the Hackett situation that's going on right now with it. So. With that said, with the Niners too, let's kind of look at the Chiefs standpoint. They continue to just roll 423 yards for Mahomes again. He's on another level again. The receivers, they bounce back again with it. Any quick thoughts on the Chiefs? They lost obviously last week to the Bills. Are they waiting for that rematch again, basically come playoff time? Is that what they're playing for at this point?
I think that that's their motivation. I wouldn't say that it's not going to be it's not a foregone conclusion. Mm-hmm. They've definitely shown this season that they're not invulnerable. The right team can beat them at the right time. I don't think I'm not penciling them into the AFC Championship. I think that they have a very good shot to, and they have one of the best coaches to try and get you to that spot. But I'm not going to say that that's their rightful spot. Honestly, like we were talking about at the beginning of the season, there's 6 or 7 teams in the AFC that could probably win the conference and play in the Super Bowl. I still think that's true. They might have a little bit worse record than we were thinking initially, but the Bills could probably play in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs could probably play in the Super Bowl. The Bengals offensively, the last couple of weeks have shown that they could probably play in the Super Bowl. They were able to do it last year. The Browns, if things continue to go, they're able to hold themselves on and get into the wild card. So I would say that they're probably motivated trying to get back at the Bills. But they shouldn't be focused on anybody other than their opponent in front of them. They're not good enough anymore to just show up and win. They actually have to, because Mahomes threw a pick early on in this game. They had to overcome adversity. They're overcoming adversity now, but it's not the same. It's not the Chiefs from 2 years ago where you're like, well, damn, we're up by 30. It's not enough. Did you remember that Super Bowl run they had? They were down double digits in every single playoff game that they had.
And again, I mean, Mahomes could have easily been your fantasy player of the day as well. He was fantastic as well on with the stats. Schuster is starting to get a little bit more involved in the offense. So if you're a Chiefs fan there, like our guys at Las Vegas Benchwarmers there, when he's a Chiefs fan over there, the other guy, Raiders fan. So I'm sure he's excited about that performance. I know a lot of Niners fans very frustrated. I was watching it with my father-in-law today. Oh, he wanted to throw out. He held the tongue. I'm very proud of him around the grandkids today. So he held the tongue. He did a good job there. He was very frustrated with the defense. Can't blame him there at all. It is interesting. We'll see what this trade happens. It's a big trade out here. All right, a couple more games here, and then we'll get out of here. Real quick here, Jimmy. Out of the AFC West, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos. Which one do you trust the most? That's my question. That's not really a compliment either. I don't know which one I would actually trust in a big game. I guess you know what I mean. I really don't. I might. I think
Is my life on the line in this situation? Because if my life's not on the line in this situation, I might go with option D, none of the above.
exactly.
I have to pick, otherwise I don't make it out of this one. I'm going to say the Chargers.
It's all because of Herbert, probably. There. I just thought that was a funny question.
It's not even because of Herbert. It's because McDaniels and Hackett. Not even Herbert. It's just I can't. Those two coaches have shown me, and not Stefanski. Oh man, now I can't think of the guy's name in Los Angeles. What is Sir goes for it a lot. Sir goes for it a lot. Yeah, that's a good one too, Rev. Yeah, trust the Broncos offense to be bad. I was witness to it this time. Score a 14 play, 85-yard touchdown drive, and you missed the extra point.
Unbelievable.
That's the Broncos offense in a nutshell now.
And the thing is, it's a lot of checkdowns, and I hate checkdown offense. I mean, I hate that checkdown crap. That not just bother. You know what I mean? Like you get so tired of
checkdowns in the right situation.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
I know. But those quarterbacks
right.
don't understand what situation checkdown should be. Like they're taking shots on 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
When they have guys running open 5 yards down the field, that would get you a new set of downs that you could take that deep shot. Zach Wilson and Brett Rippon both don't do that. And Derek Carr does it sometimes, but Derek Carr's almost in the Kirk Cousins where he sees somebody 30 yards down the field. He's like, "Shoosh, I don't know if the old wing can get it that far. I don't know. It's not Uncle Rico back there. He's not throwing the football over the mountains." So
no. And I'm sure that Rippon guy is the uncle or some sort of the
nephew
of the Redskins. The Redskins. I'm sorry if it offended me. That's just what they were named when he was the quarterback.
When he won the Super Bowl, technically, that's a fact. They were the Redskins with Mark Rippon. Mark Rippon won the Super Bowl.
I thought that was just a funny question going into the day here. If you had the life on the line, your life is screwed basically overall there. So let's get to like our last game here before we move to Monday night. We don't have to go deep in on it here, but the Seahawks do pull it out. You mentioned them at the very beginning, and they do the Chargers just like we said, man. You think they're going to play well? They got 4 wins. Play the Seahawks at home, which is basically a road game for them anyways. If you know the Chargers Stadium, the Seahawks come in and they kick ass. Geno Smith gets the job done. Again, he looks like he's going to get I don't know. He might not be the starter there, but he's helping them win. They're over 500. I know that. They have 2 good wide receivers, Metcalf and Lockett. These aren't like just average receivers. These are really good receivers that they have. And Pete Carroll obviously loves the running game, and they continue to run the ball well.
Kenneth Walker the third is too. Like people thought that he was a fluke last year with it because he didn't end the season in the Heisman race as much as he was. He's pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, very damn good. So what do you think? The Seahawks really are they? They have a better record than Niners at this point. If you would have told me this point in the season when they have a better record than Niners, I would have. I mean, get life on the line, right? No way in hell would I have put it on the Seahawks. Is this real? Or should we buy into this crap?
I don't know. I think what it really proves is that the Russell situation was everybody was saying, how could they pick the 78-year-old head coach over the 33-year-old or whatever quarterback? It's just continuing to prove that they might have known something that the rest of us didn't. And now I don't know if you saw Marshawn. I don't know if you guys probably talked about it on your show or not, but Marshawn and Richard Sherman on Sherman's podcast talking about how you have to go through Russell Wilson's manager. Maybe the team was just absolutely sick of all of the bullshit. And like that was what was truly holding them back. And their roster isn't as good as it has been in the past couple of years. But it's not to say that, I mean, they're not bad, and obviously they're finding ways to win. I don't know if he's going to be – I don't think that he's going to consistently be the quarterback, but he could be the quarterback again next year when they're trying to groom some other – it's not going to be Drew Lock. Unfortunately, I think he's on a fast track to the XFL, USFL, or maybe even fan-controlled football at this point. No disrespect. If you're a fan of one of those leagues, that's fine. It ain't professional football.
I don't know. That would always crazy.
Geno Smith has probably got himself another year in Seattle, and then – depending on how that year goes, maybe they start building around him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing here is like you just don't know what – NFL quarterbacks aren't like baseball pitchers. I know we're going on sport, but like baseball pitchers sometimes will develop later in their careers. Very rarely does that happen with football quarterbacks. But It has happened in the history of football. Happened with Jim Plunkett with the Raiders. Happened with Kurt Warner. There's help. Happened with Jake, helping with Doug Willis. Help with Jake Delhomme on the Panthers. It does happen with these quarterbacks. So there is a chance here that it happens there. All right. Those are the afternoon games here. We're kind of getting down to the end here. I appreciate anybody that's still with us here. Again,
hopefully Rev's still watching. Rev, Kenny Pickett's not the answer at quarterback. Just want you
to. Sorry, Rev. Jimmy had to throw that out there. 16-10. He can't be happy with that performance at all. The little hands. They do get TJ Watt. I saw his little tweet there. I saw his tweet there. They do get him coming back. That would make a massive difference.
Is he throwing touchdowns now? That's what he's doing. Is he going to play quarterback too?
Rev, I'm trying to help you. I wanted you to come on. Join right now. Join in and rip on him. We got 5 minutes to rip on him there. We're about to wrap this up here, like I said, though. So we got a couple more things to get into before we get out of here. Again, be sure to follow Jimmy on the Far End of the Bench podcast. I think you guys came out this Thursday, but usually Wednesdays. They do a really good job touching on football, UFC, everything, college football. I just really love your guys' podcast. And then it was pretty neat that we kind of met up with you guys here on the Variety Sports Network. So please be sure to check out our guys there, Nico and Jimmy over there at the Far End of the Bench podcast. Jimmy, Monday night game here, another snooze fest. We got the Bears versus my friend Adam, the Patriots. I know if he zappity doodah, I call it. It's all day. It's a zappity doodah for me. That's all I think about here with the Patriots. How do I not take Bill Belichick and a defense that is just shutting out people? This is Bill Belichick's team. And then you get the Bears with, oh my God, he's gonna destroy him a little bit. So instead of, I think both of us are probably gonna pick the Patriots. You see the line here. Give me the winner if you don't have the Patriots, I guess, and then the line.
I would take the Patriots in the points. I think that's probably pretty. It's not a slam dunk because 7.5 is a lot in the NFL. The Bears can't score touchdowns.
No,
that's the Bears can't, and that's the touchdowns are worth 6 points.
Do you have any players on their fantasy? I always think that back to fantasy football. Like, who do you want on their team? They can't throw. Like, they can't throw. You know what I mean? Like, they're just not anybody available.
I don't even want their defense.
No.
No. Evan Hester's not on their special teams either, right? So no, I don't want their special teams. Huh? Yeah. No.
Do the Patriots have a chance here, man? Is Bill going to pull a magic again? Is he going to get it done?
I think that this wouldn't even be like this is what Bill Belichick's expected to do. Feast on an inexperienced quarterback who can't read a defense to save his life. Yeah. That's perfect. And just put some weird coverage behind him and pick six them all. Whether you win, whether you score an offensive touchdown or not, you are going to get plenty of chances to score defensive touchdowns or at least have short fields with whatever mistake Justin Fields is going to make. And Justin Fields did look good, like for the first drive or whatever of Thursday Night Football. They looked fine. And then he overthrew the tight end 2 yards in front of him. Like, he overthrew him by 10 yards running a 2-yard route. So that's the state of Chicago. That's the state that the Bears are in. The Bears are not – no, this is the Patriots and this is the points. I think if you could put those two together, why not? That's going to make you your most money. The Bears are Cinderella story, if anything, just for this one game.
I always love when you guys talk about that too. I love the passion the gambling comes out on your show as well. It always cracks me up. All right, so that's the Monday night game there. Again, not the most exciting game in the world, but that is what it is there with it. All right, we're down here now. What do you think here, Jimmy? We got I got presented here by one of our new sponsors here, right? We got SeatGeek. Jumped on here at the Variety Sports Network. Shout out to Brandon there for getting them on here. If you use our code VSN, you get $20 off any free. If you want to go check out the Broncos next week again, see that offensive. Maybe they can get to 10 points. You can get a ticket, get $20 off your first seat. That'll make it more enjoyable for you. Maybe go beat up a fan if you want. Y'all promoting violence. No, sorry, I don't want to say that. All right, hey, winners and losers of the week. Always one of my favorite parts of my podcast here. I like to get your thoughts on it. We kind of been doing it here on the Talkin the Gridiron. Finish it up here. Give me your winner of the week here.
My winner of the week, I'll say Giants fans, because at least the Giants are 6-1. As much even though the Yankees are out of the playoffs, at least you can go, because it's normally Giants and Yankees fans that go together, and then the Jets and Mets because they're always in misery. Giants fans, you can at least pay attention to football season for a couple more weeks before you have to address Aaron Boone, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and the fact that the Houston Astros just might be your daddy. Are we sure that Altuve doesn't have stock in the Yankees at this point?
And they're up 10, and they're up 6-5 in the top of the ninth. As he's saying, it's just a rub it in, folks. I like it. I got to respect that at all costs. I can't go against you on that one. I respect that. Giants been there. Here's my winner of the week. I got Jacobs for the Raiders. I got to
shout him out. He did help me win my teacher fantasy league, by the way.
He did, and he's on one this year. A lot of people thought he was done. We got to give him some props this year. He's definitely on Pro Bowl. Whatever that means still. He's playing like one of the best running backs. A lot of people are just forgetting about him. I think that's 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks here. Again, 120, again, over 100 yards. He's carrying the load, and he's running really hard. Like in that Chiefs game, he ran really hard. There was a couple possessions. There's one where there was a flag, and he ran really hard and got a first down. I felt bad for him on that one. I always feel bad for running backs on plays like that when they go like balls out and then there's a flag or something like that. But just got to give him credit here. 441 yards last 3 games, but winner of the week, I just want to give him 3 touchdowns again. Yeah, I know it was the Texans, but so what? They were 1-4. Raiders get a win for them. 2-4, one they have to have. So that's my winner of the week. What do you got for a loser of the week here? Sponsored by SeatGeek here.
Let's see. Loser of the week.
Well, let me give you a sign here. I got one here. Just while you think it for a second here. I got you set up here. Loser of the week here. I got to get a couple here. If you see Jimmy down below, I got a big S there at the end. So I got losers. Broncos, Bucks, and Lions together combined for 18 points. And the reason I bring that up kind of as losers of the week is just the offensive performances. I mean, pathetic in some of these games. Even the Ravens, Browns 23-20, terrible. Just not good necessarily offensive games outside of maybe the Bengals and then the Chiefs game there overall. You got a loser of the week there yet, sir?
I think my loser is going to just go to the Colts because this is the 3rd year in a row that you've brought in the 1-year veteran quarterback for it to work, and it's not going to work. And this is going to be the farthest away from it working that you've gotten. The fact that Phillip Rivers in the last 3 years is the closest quarterback to winning you a playoff game, and I think that's going to continue. And I think they're probably going to have to do this again next year. So Andrew Luck, you should have treated him better and actually got him an offensive line while he was playing, because since that man retired, it's just put a black cloud over your franchise, and they were pretty big losers to me this week. They still, as bad as they've been, if they would have won, they would have been right in the conversation for winning their division and making the playoffs that way. Now they're going to be lucky to be in contention for an in the hunt graphic in week 16. So.
No, that's a great call there for sure. Maybe a little winner there just for Logan one last time there. I'll give you a little shout out there. Your Cowboys.
How about them Cowgirls?
That's right there for sure. So, Jimmy, before we get out of here, just want to thank you again for joining us here. Week 7 of Talking the Gridiron. I feel like it's been going well, very well. I hope to get Rev back on here. I hope to get Tyler back on here. I know he won't be on next week. He'll be still on vacation, but after that, he'll be good to go the rest of the year. And then I got some of my guy, C. Henry. I'm hoping to get him to jump on next week, and our guy, P. Shark, talk a little Titans and Lions here as well. Jimmy, it's been fun. I always like picking your brain about football here. Please go follow their show at Jimmy Shofar, the End of the Bench podcast at the Variety Sports Network over there. You want to shout out your show and what you guys might have coming up here?
At FEOTB Pod, as it stands now, I think we're talking to Rev about getting an MMA segment for this week. But no, during this snooze fest of a Monday Night Football game, I think Nico and I are going to be recording our episode that you guys can hear Wednesday. So follow at FEOTB Pod, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then if you like college football, Division II college football particularly, Rev and I host the Top of the Mountain podcast every Friday. That's on that same feed as well.
And if you like a little hockey updates, they keep me updated on the hockey, keep me informed. I appreciate it.
As long as the Avalanche are worth talking about.
And my Sharks, they got a big win today. They've got 2 wins on the year, 3-0 over the Flyers today. So we're creeping up, trying to get that first pick overall. Trying to get that first.
Over the Flyers.
Wow. I know, not a big win. So they're trying to get that.
They were undefeated, so I guess.
Big win. We're meeting business here. So anyway, they got to get hockey there over there. Check us out, Tyler, at the Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. We be putting out podcasts every Sunday morning. We took the week off this week for the first time, probably a year and a half. So I needed a little breather this week. We're going to come back next week with my guy, Damian Adams, out of Arizona. And you know what? He is a Saints fan. So I am going to ask him some Saints questions here about Andy Dalton as well. So we'll get his thoughts on that. So he'll be guest hosting with me this week. Jimmy, Thanks again, my man. Talking the Gridiron. Looking forward to next week with it. We got some big games on hand here. We got some better games. Ravens, Bucks, prime time game. That's a lot better than what we had this week. We got Bills, Packers Sunday night. My friend, we might want to start this game a little bit earlier. We could kind of do some updates during that game. So that's a pretty good Sunday night game. Bills, Packers, and then Monday night. Oh, what team is that again? Yeah, Browns and Bengals. So there's some good primetime games this week as well. Therefore, that should be a little different.
I hate Monday night games. I hate Monday night games so much.
My guess is he won't be recording that night, folks. That's my guess there. So,
or I will be recording, and that's going to be even worse.
if it's earlier there. So for Jimmy from the Far End of the Bench podcast, I'm Darren. We will see you next week on Talking the Gridiron. Peace.